Welcome back, sports fans. Thanks for clicking into this special championship edition of the Friday Five. I am Slim Kimmel with GazPrepSports.com. We'll take a look at the 5 high school championship football games on this weekend's schedule. We'll start in Class AA, where we have the undefeated Bozeman Hawks welcoming in Kalispell Glacier. Now, these two teams did meet up earlier in the season. Bozeman won that matchup 27-12. It was Glacier's only loss of the season, and it was Bozeman's closest game of the year. So I think it's safe to say that we do have the two best teams playing for the championship. It's always nice to see, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but it does this year, as it should have. And Glacier comes in having played really well last weekend in that 52-7 win over Great Falls CMR. They had a bunch of different guys impact that game offensively as well as defensively. They were really balanced in their attack there. So look for them to kind of come in and try to shorten this game, maybe use their rushing attack to keep that dangerous Bozeman offense on the sideline. And for the Hawks, meanwhile, they can beat you with the pass and the run. Will Wire at quarterback, Hunter Gatmeyer at running back is back after an injury. They can beat you multiple ways there. So look for a hard-fought game where both teams try to establish the run, then go to the pass as kind of a secondary weapon on offense. And we'll see how things shake out over there in Bozeman Friday night. Moving into Class A, we have Dillon and Billings Central meeting up again for the 3rd year in a row in the state championship. 2 years ago, if you'll remember, Dillon kind of handily beat Billings Central. And then last year, Billings Central got their revenge and won 37-7. I expect this game to be a much closer contest as these two teams are a little more evenly matched this year, I think. They did play earlier in the year, just like Bozeman and Glacier. And Dillon did win that one 31-14, but Holden Ryan didn't play much in that game, and Billings Central had a kind of shot themselves in the foot in that one, had some uncharacteristic mistakes. So look for a closer game here. I expect both teams to try to establish the run. Billings Central with Holden Ryan, Dillon with Colton Reeby. I think those are kind of what the offenses are trying to do against two really good defenses at slowing down the run. This one's going to be a hard-fought, physical game. It could come down to somebody making a mistake or somebody making a big play on defense. So I think this one's going to be a one-score game, 20-14, 27-20, something like that. Moving into Class B, we've got the defending champions, Missoula Loyola, traveling all the way across the state to Baker. These two are both undefeated. Baker beat Glasgow last weekend. Missoula Loyola beat Jefferson to get here. Both teams like to run the ball. I think Loyola does have a little bit better passing game, which is really the only advantage that either team probably has here. Baker has a home field advantage. This one could really come down, again, like the last one, could come down to a turnover or a big play late in the game to kind of swing momentum. With a bunch of different guys that can carry the ball and be productive on the ground, it's going to be which defense can come up with a stop or slow down the opposing rushing attack there. And then moving into Class C 8-man, we get in the matchup that we all kind of expected. We have Ennis hosting Wibaux, number 1 and number 2 in the Associated Press polls, both undefeated. Both have looked absolutely dominant throughout the season. Wibaux kind of is here after surviving a game against Belt last weekend, 18-14, I believe was the final, where Ennis just continues to steamroll past people. Drummond, Sims, Charlo last week. The Mustangs are just playing at a different level in Class C 8-man football right now, and they can do it in multiple ways too. They've obviously got the passing game with Connor Sullivan at wide receiver, but they've got a bunch of other weapons too, a bunch of guys who can run the ball behind a really big offensive line, and then defensively, they're absolutely shutting down teams. They shut out Drummond and they shut out Sims, and then they only gave up 14 points to Charlo. So they're a defense that's playing really well, and then they're welcoming in the Longhorns, who we all know that they're going to try to run the ball. So that's going to be just who wins that battle up front. Is Wibaux's offensive line or Ennis's defensive line going to win that matchup and determine the outcome? And then in 6-man, we've got another rematch, the 3rd rematch of the 5 championships. This one pits Denton-Geyser-Stanford against Geraldine-Highwood. This one will be Saturday in Highwood. These two met earlier in Denton. I believe the final was 57-38. Geraldine-Highwood won that one. Turnovers were the story in that game. The rivals were +3 in turnover margin. I believe one of those got returned for a touchdown. So you take away those turnovers, and that game could go either way. So that's going to be the key in this one. Can Geraldine-Highwood, a team that's used to forcing a lot of turnovers, I think they were +3 in the turnover battle in last week's double overtime win against Savage too. Can they force turnovers against Denton-Geyser-Stanford, or do the Bearcats take care of the ball, keep this game close? And I think, for my money, I think Denton-Geyser-Stanford does keep this one close. I don't think they turn over the ball. I think you see a really great 6-man game between two of the top programs, or really a bunch of the top communities. I mean, there's 5 communities in this one, and there's a lot of championship history, a lot of playoff experience there. So I'm expecting a great 6-man game there up in Highwood on Saturday.